Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And oh boy, do we have some juicy news to cover today. I'm gonna be honest with you here, there's a ton of articles that we have open, and there's quite a lot of different stories that I want to talk about. We're going to talk about the Ripple v. SEC lawsuit because, well, John Deaton is going on a little bit of a rampage asking questions, and there's a question that I saw about why there's no investigation just quite yet. So we're covering that. We have a little bit about what billionaires think about crypto. We have some general crypto news, and most importantly, we have what Russia just said, as that is some very, very big news. But let's dive right into it, huh? So first of all, guys, how's the crypto market doing? Well, not too shabby. And I've told you all before, I can find very often some sort of manipulatory processes happening in the crypto space that I warned you guys for. If you check back 9 hours, or I guess a day and a half ago, I told you there's going to be a pump in 9 hours. It's not joking. Because when you check back, well, the crypto prices did pump at that point, and it also was kind of superficial in the sense that the crypto market websites, the aggregators like Live CoinWatch and CoinMarketCap, make it look that way. Meaning, whatever there's 24 hours that have passed, that's where you see this number for, right? So in this case here, right now we are up about 2.45% from this point exactly yesterday. In a couple of hours, we're going to be basically 24 hours past this point, and so it'll look as if the price is up way more, is doing way better, even though the price could be going stable around this point from here on forward. Point trying to be, a lot of times at those points, basically, people think, oh, we've just gone up 10%, we're back in the bullish, we're back in the green, let's buy, let's FOMO. And that's most likely what we saw here as well. And I already anticipated that because of such a big increase over a couple hour period that very often people FOMO in because of this exact thing. Then again, the most important factor is the stock market, obviously, which is doing positive. And even though there's quite a lot of political ties here, we're seeing the market being quite positive, and that's rather interesting, I guess, which points to me to manipulation, but in some way also to the FOMO of people thinking, well, this is the bottom, let's buy it now, otherwise we're not going to have any, and stuff along those lines. Let's go through rapid pace right through this. IMF urged El Salvador to drop Bitcoin as legal currency. They're acknowledging it, they're afraid of it, they're afraid that multiple countries are going to adopt it, so they want to get them out as soon as possible. Billionaire investor Ray Dalio says crypto gets too much attention. A billionaire's opinion doesn't really matter necessarily. However, I think he's saying this because Bitcoin is not getting attention for the right purpose, and crypto as a whole. Right now, it's getting attention as a, oh, let's buy this because it's going to make me money for sure thing, not really for the groundbreaking technology that it has underlying. Then again, is that really a bad thing? Just depends. You could call it overvalued for what it is, but I don't think that's the case either. It's getting quite a lot of attention, not necessarily for the right thing, but I guess that makes it better for the attention that is missing on the right purpose, basically. Bitcoin whale takes advantage of market crash to gobble up millions in Bitcoin. Fun fact, if the market was dumping, you'd most likely see an article saying Bitcoin whales take advantage of the market to dump Bitcoin or so before market crash or stuff like that. This is all relative. Can't really do too much with that because I see articles on both sides. ARK Invest from Kathy Wood. Why Bitcoin could be worth $1 million by 2030. We'll do another video on this more specifically because it's very interesting, but I would say, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. $1 million by 2030 is not really that crazy, not really that strange. It's actually a pretty conservative price prediction still, in the sense that we're only going to 20x, for example, in the next decade or so. Yeah, it's not really too crazy, if you ask me honestly. Then Ethereum Foundation has phased out of the ETH2 moniker, clarifies his roadmap. I'm going to make a special video about that too, about what's going to happen to Ethereum. I've told you all before, I'm really bullish on the technology, even though it's really bad to transact with right now. Transaction itself, by the way, is not too annoying. If you want to interact with Uniswap, though, it might cost you 120 bucks every now and then to actually make one transfer. I always pay at least 50 bucks, I think, for my Uniswap transfers, which is still ridiculous if you do 2, 3, 4 a day. Can be a couple $100 every single day to just transfer some tokens in and out. Stupid, actually. Then again, a lot is going to be coming up over the next couple of months, though, and we're going to cover that. Right now, wow, right? I have like full lists of articles open about Russia and whatnot. We have so much stuff open here. But apparently, Putin pumps the brakes on Russian central bank's push to ban crypto and cease future in mining. This just came out in a January 26 video conference. Putin asked officials in his government to hold talks, including the central bank, on the subject of crypto. While he acknowledged certain risks, first and foremost to citizens of the country, given significant volatility, he directed his agencies not to neglect the advantages that Russia has in the area. And of course, a lot of people are saying, well, first you try to make a lot of FUD by saying you're going to ban it, then you buy the dip, then unban it, and then repeat 1,000 times for easy money. Kind of feels like that because look at this from yesterday. Russian Finance Ministry official Ivan Chebeskov has opposed the proposed ban of crypto operations in Russia. And again, like Tommy says, of course, after the crash they produced, right now they bought in cheap, and so they're back on it, which I think is rather interesting because they're so left, right on all this. Like, what is going on? Russian Finance Ministry officials call for crypto regulation, not restriction. It's very interesting to me. Then this is an article that I saw that a lot of you guys are excited about. Let's see if this got a lot of views by now because I've let this hang for a little bit. Let's see, not too many. YouTube head of gaming Ryan Wyatt to resign and join Polygon Studios as CEO. He worked for YouTube Gaming. Right now he's going to work for Polygon. Yeah, cool, right? A lot of people are saying, yeah, it's going to be Web 2 to Web 3. This is like one part of it. Yeah, it could just be priorities. It could also be just that in a Polygon studio, you have way more to say than in YouTube Gaming potentially. Or the pay was way better. Maybe they get a stock in, or they get paid in Polygon or something like that we're excited about. We can't really say. And then we have last but not least that Kazakhstan powers down Bitcoin miners as blackouts roil Central Asia. Very scary article because if they're going to ban Bitcoin mining, not exactly sure what I could say about that. That's good. Except for the fact that Bitcoin can never go down in a certain way, like it could just completely go out. Except for some articles that we have here about, for example, it would be hacked by quantum power. But that's a different story for a different day. But Kazakhstan powering down is rather strange. Because why would they do so? They're doing so well in terms of revenue. I guess it's just because they're taking too much power, right? And they can't afford that. Not in terms of dollars, but they can't afford the country to be like that. But I guess Russia wants to maybe pick it up because it says there sees a future in mining. Could be interesting. It's also a fun contrast to see it like that. I don't know. I think it's rather interesting to see it like that. All right. A little bit of the share buyback, by the way. It's official now. We actually posted that news before Brad Garlinghouse posted it himself a couple hours before that, and I tweeted it out. At that point, it was still unconfirmed. A lot of you guys were saying, no, it's been confirmed. I know. But at the time we were recording this, it was like 4 hours before Brad Garlinghouse posted it himself, or 6 hours maybe. So that's why it was unconfirmed at the time, by the way. It's basically Ripple buying back stocks because they are optimistic. It's not that strange to buy back stock in the sense of why they would do it. It's just not that logical because usually you have money issues as a startup. And then the Ripple issue from earlier. We have a couple other news pieces, but we'll talk about that later. A lot of people are asking, so why is the SEC not being investigated right now? John Dean says, people keep asking why hasn't an investigation been launched? Gary Gensler isn't going to order one. He didn't even acknowledge receiving a petition from 30,000 investors. Someone with authority over the SEC must ask. That's the Financial Services Committee. And so, well, that's exactly what we're doing here, connect to Congress. Because what are we doing? Well, he says 65,000 XP holders have joined the class action petition, but less than 1/3 have utilized Connect to Congress. If we get over 50,000 people asking the Finance/Banking Committee members for an investigation, it will happen. So connect to Congress via this little link. And he basically made something where you can connect to your Congress. And what that's supposed to do, there's a part for US guys and part for international, is it's supposed to basically put it on the map that this needs to be covered in there. And once we get enough signatures, once there's enough people who are like, hey, we think this is odd too, there will have to be an investigation because there's too much skepticism. Not officially true. I don't think there has to be an official investigation officially by definition. But I mean, then it's so odd that 50,000 people requested something that they're going to have to, they can't ignore it anymore. Right now, there's just 10,000 people. They can still kind of ignore it. But that's literally what John Dean wants to kind of prevent. They want to make it so that it just cannot be ignored any longer. And here was the Nick Burafato one. He said Ripple shares are currently live and available on Linkto. A little fun fact, you can actually buy into Ripple stock. You have to be an accredited investor, or you actually have to go through an accredited investor and get this done. For example, if your tax official, whatever, says, hey, it's good to go, sort of, right? Not officially, you guys get what I mean. That a person says, yes, good. Why do I mean that, and what do I mean with that? Well, by definition, you have to know what you're buying into. And with private stock, the reason they're not letting you do that is because you can actually get scammed pretty easily, because who exactly makes the valuation and whatnot? I mean, if it's just a private agreement, so to speak, nobody can really regulate that properly unless they're going for an official series and so on. They want to do it through this, that, if it's a big manner, right? But theoretically speaking, if I were to allow you to buy in, I could just make up some random valuation and back it up by some random facts. If you don't know any better, you'd buy in with $100,000 into my $5 billion company, giving you 0 point whatever equity, while the company's actually only worth $1 million or even 100,000. So you actually should have gotten half the company, but you only got such a small percentage because I inflated my numbers. And who can check that as of this point because it's private, potentially just started out. And unless there's official auditors, I mean, you can just have a small agreement, right? Because these guys do it really big. There's really big security and audits in that sense. But if it's a smaller company, I don't think it has to be that severe. And so that's what they're kind of preparing you for, that you know what you're getting into. On the contrary, it doesn't make a lot of sense, because if you want to buy in, you should be able to buy in. If you like confirm that you know what you're doing, you should be able to do it regardless of how risky it is and whatnot. Wait a minute. Brad Garlinghouse just tweeted something out. Let me quickly see what it is. Quickly checking it. Oh, no, it's just Brad Garlinghouse saying, you got to wonder who decided to give this guy the mic. Just kidding. See you there, Mike. And it's Mike Novogratz saying, very excited to announce I will be the MC of Miami Tech Week 2022. No, not kidding. And that was it. It's just Miami Tech Week, and he's going to be there. So nothing too special, nothing too crazy in that front. And then I don't think we have anything too much. We have Ripple here talking about the buyback and explaining how excited Ripple is for the future. Once more, guys, why they're buying it back? Because they're excited, so they want to have as much as possible, obviously. Today, the network has volume run rate of over 10 billion. It's just, long story short, they know they're going to do amazing, so they want to have as much stock as possible, and potentially they want to work somebody out. And last but not least here, Tom Emmer shared House Democrats introduced legislation that would give the the Secretary of the Treasury dictatorial level power to prohibit any transaction they deem concerning without due process. This leaves the American people powerless to hold Secretary Yellen accountable. And the most important part about that one is just right now in the U.S., there's quite a lot of trouble with transactions and digital transactions and everything in that front. And there's really a lot of rules being introduced and thought about that really don't make a lot of sense. And look at this, right? Jerry Brito basically shared, including the American Competes Act just introduced in the House, and which will very likely pass in some form, in a provision that would be disastrous, not just for crypto, but for privacy and due process generally. The so-called special measures provision would essentially give the Treasury Secretary unchecked and unilateral power to ban exchanges and other financial institutions from engaging in crypto transactions. How would it do that? Well, Bank Secrecy Act, allowing the Secretary to identify a primary money laundering concern and take special measures to require financial institutions to report information on the concern and to prohibit FIs, financial institutions, from maintaining accounts related to the concern. Special measures authority is vast power that the Secretary has today. So in the current statute, there are checks on that power. And again, the point being, eventually it's going to be taken away, which is kind of scary, right? That's what everybody's talking about right now. I can't really say too much about it except for, well, there's a couple of problems regarding crypto right now and exchanges and whatnot and just money in general that need to be fixed. And this year is a crazy year for money, man. It's really crazy the way that things are going. Printing and everything like that. You guys know it's been a crazy year. Then again, let's make the best out of everything. That's what I keep saying. All right, guys, that was it for today's video. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And I'll see you guys again in another one later today. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up, so make sure you subscribe to the channel.